Spanish government proposes new gender quota law. Protests against pension reform grind France to a halt. Contaminated breast pump tied to baby's death. New pill alternative to statin cuts cholesterol and heart attacks. Czech company sees boom in market for fake tanks and HIMARS. Israel's elite fighter pilots escalate judicial reform protest. Kenyans concerned about China's growing presence. Toblerone drops iconic design due to rules on Swissness.
Hello, I'm Wade Lee. Thank you for joining us on FUNDAY News. It is Wednesday, March 8th, and here are your top stories. The Spanish government has proposed a law to mandate gender quotas in elected government bodies and on the boards of large companies on the eve of International Women's Day. Under Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, Spain has enacted a raft of laws which focuses on sexual minorities and women. The Spanish First Deputy Prime Minister, Nadia Calvino, said that listed companies will have to assure that their boards of management have at least a 40% of people from the less represented gender before the 1st of July 2024.
In 2017, the Spanish parliament became the most female parliament in Europe, with 47% of the House made up of women. Spanish MPs in mid-February gave final approval to a law allowing people to freely change their gender from the age of 16. Before the law was passed, transgender people needed a medical diagnosis by several doctors of gender dysphoria. They also had to prove that they had undergone hormone treatment for at least 2 years.
Garbage collectors, utility workers, and transport workers are among people walking off the job Tuesday across France to show their anger at a bill which would raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. Truckers have sporadically blocked major highway arteries and interchanges in go-slow action near several cities in France regions. A fifth of flights were cancelled at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, and about a third of flights was scrapped at Orly Airport. Trains to Germany and Spain were expected to come to a halt.
The reform under protest would raise the official pension age from 62 to 64 and require 43 years of work by 2030 to earn a full pension. The government argues the system is expected to dive into deficit within a decade as France's population ages and life expectancy lengthens. Left-wing lawmakers say companies and the wealthy should pitch in more to finance the pension system. France's 8 main unions and 5 youth organizations will meet on Tuesday evening to decide about the next steps of the mobilization.
U.S. federal health officials are warning parents of newborns to sterilize equipment used for both bottle and breastfeeding after a baby died last year from a rare infection tied to a contaminated breast pump. According to a Central for Disease Control and Prevention report released last Thursday, the infant, a premature boy, was infected with the bacteria Chronobacter sakazaki, the same germ that sparked a recall and nationwide shortage of powdered infant formula last year.
But this baby's infection was not caused by contaminated formula. An investigation found that the home breast pump was cleaned in a household sink, sanitized, and sometimes assembled while still moist. A CDC expert in pediatric infectious diseases, Dr. Julia Haston, said the case underscores that Chronobacter bacteria are found widely in the environment and can lead to severe and deadly infections. Haston also said it is essential to thoroughly wash, sanitize, and dry your hands, equipment, and all surfaces before feeding a baby.
Millions of people who can't or won't take statins because of side effects may have another option. In a major study, researchers reported last Saturday a different kind of cholesterol-lowering drug named Nexletol reduces the risk of heart attacks and some other cardiovascular problems in people who can't tolerate statins. Doctors already prescribed the drug known chemically as bempedoic acid to be used together with a statin to help certain high-risk patients further lower their cholesterol.
The new study tested Nexletol without the statin combination, and it offers the first evidence that it also reduces the risk of cholesterol-caused health problems. The main finding, Nexletol, treated patients had a 13% lower risk of a group of major cardiac problems. If tested apart, those different conditions and found a 23% reduced risk of a heart attack. The drug also cut procedures to unclog arteries by 19%. Nexletol also blocks cholesterol production in the liver, but in a different way than statins and without muscular side effects.
I always needed time on my own. I never thought I'd be here.
I take your blessings with your heartaches too. It's so easy and so wonderful to know it's you.
学习，一切从今天开始。FUNDAY 英语。
Losing a tank or valued U.S.-made high-mobility artillery rocket system, HIMARS, can hurt an army less if the weapon is a cheap inflatable decoy placed on the front line to deceive the enemy. The war in Ukraine, which has boosted the need for heavy military vehicles, guns, and planes, has already been a boom to Inflatech decoys, a Czech maker of fake army equipment. CEO Wojciech Fresher said on Monday the company has added HIMARS to its fleet of over 30 types of inflatable real-size decoy it sells to customers worldwide.
Češi jsou velmi aktivní i ve vojenské pomoci, často překvapivým způsobem.
The decoys are made out of synthetic silk and, apart from misleading the adversary visually, have a thermal footprint and appear on radars to fool enemy reconnaissance. They pack into sacks that 2 to 4 soldiers can carry and can be inflated within 10 minutes. The HIMARS inflatable top without the heat generator and compressor equipment weighs 43 kg. The decoys cost from $10,000 to $100,000. Inflatech has seen its business boom over the past year and sees big growth this year in tens and maybe over 100.
Fighter pilots in an elite Israeli Air Force squadron have vowed not to attend training in an unprecedented protest against the government. Nearly all of the 40 reservist pilots from 69 Squadron has refused to join a one-day training exercise this week. It is seen as an unparalleled political move by some of Israel's most strategic important reservists. It is also a sign of growing opposition to the ruling National Coalition's plan to overhaul the legal system.
The Israeli Defense Forces chief also warned that protests can spread in the ranks if the bill is not withdrawn.
The Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu promised radical changes to Israel's legal system, which would give the government full control over nominating judges, since he is also on trial for corruption charges, which he denies. Opponents claim the legal reforms could help shield him from conviction. Mr. Netanyahu's proposals have sparked some of the biggest anti-government demonstrations in Israel's history, with an estimated 150,000 people on the streets of Tel Aviv and tens of thousands more in protests elsewhere on Saturday.
A Chinese-owned shop selling cheap household goods at the center of a dispute in Kenya has reopened after a counterfeit complaint against it was dismissed. But some small-skilled traders, who form a vital part of Kenya's economy, began to notice business dropping off. They said, "We want the Chinese out of Kenya. If the Chinese become the manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and even hawkers, where will Kenyans go?" The row got to the heart of a debate about whether this kind of outlet hurts or helps Kenyans.
Has announced temporary closure of its retail shop situated at the Kenyatta University's Uni City Mall on Sunday.
The China Square shop that had become a hit with consumers because of its cheap goods was the focus of their anger. Its rapid success had rekindled long-held fears about competition from abroad. On Monday, the Kenya Chinese Chamber of Commerce welcomed the reopening of China Square after discussions were held with the government. However, China Square is clearly not working out of a kiosk. Its reopening continues to present a challenge to the petty traders whose complaints have not gone away.
The makers of Toblerone are stripping images of Switzerland-famed Matterhorn and the Swiss flag from the packaging of the milk chocolate treat as they move some products to Slovakia. Mondelez International of Deerfield, Illinois, which owned the Swiss-born brand, said Monday that it's in the process of adapting the packaging of Toblerone product to conform with the strict rules in Switzerland about how products qualify for the coveted Swissness moniker, perceived by some as a standard of quality.
Is a Toblerone chocolate bar. And this is the Toblerone factory in Bernbrunnen, where the Toblerone bars are made.
last June, the company announced plans to outsource production of some Toblerone chocolates later this year to Bratislava, the Slovak capital, since it violates a law on Swissness of products adopted in 2017, which regulates the food. At least 4/5 of the raw materials that go into the product have to come from Switzerland, and the processing that gives a product its essential characteristics must be carried out in Switzerland. The packaging change affects 35 and 50-gram bars that will be made in Slovakia.
FUNDAY News will help sharpen your English skills while keep you informed on current international events. Tune into our other FUNDAY programs to learn more about the world's most important topics in English. Click the link below now to join FUNDAY for free. I'm Wade Lee, your host. I'll see you next time.